Gifted kid syndrome, when highly talented kids have to deal with even higher expectations and grow up to become a special brand of dysfunctional adult. If this sounds like you, it's not too late for a cure, but let's start from the beginning. From the moment you were born, your parents expected greatness. You were going to be great because you were gifted. And with a combination of natural talent and the right training, you proved that giftedness early. Every trophy, every A was just another stamp of approval that your parents' pride in you was justified. You were a level above the normal kids. Maybe you were even placed in a special program with other gifted and talented kids. Eventually, things got harder, competition got a little tougher, but you pushed. Pushed against an inevitable truth that your giftedness was fading. And at some point, whether through the slow burn of ending up in a mediocre job you hate, or the sudden shock of getting rejected from the college of your dreams, you realized you weren't so gifted anymore. Now as an adult with gifted kid syndrome, in better cases, you try and distract yourself with hobbies you can't stick to, and in worse cases, you become bitter and angry because of your unrealized potential. It's almost as if you went from main character to villain, and the best villains in fiction are the ones you can relate to. Tai Lung is the textbook definition of a gifted kid burnout. His exceptional talent was recognized early, and this led his parent and master Shifu to rigorously train him and hammer in his head he was destined for greatness. But when he's denied the title of Dragon Warrior, in part by Shifu, his identity and worldview shatter, triggering a violent outburst that leads to his imprisonment and eventual downfall, and the greatest prison escape scene of all time. But can you blame him? Was there really another option? Being set on this definitive path before he can even speak by his parent only to be denied his ultimate goal. This moment from the movie perfectly expresses Tai Lung's frustration towards his upbringing.
Who filled my head with dreams? Who drove me to train until my bones cracked? Who denied me my destiny?
So, are all gifted kids just destined to fall under the weight of expectations? Tai Lung's downfall is emblematic of what happens when parental pressures on a kid go unmanaged. What happens when kids are set on a pedestal expected to continuously excel and achieve great things, only to run into the realization that despite their natural talent and hard work, they can't always be the best. So you might be more like Tai Lung than you think. And while you can't control the conditions of your childhood, I'm going to go over negative frames of mind you and Tai Lung may share as a current or former gifted kid that you should at least be aware of and try to counteract. All I ever did, I did to make you proud.
What I ever did, I did to make you proud. Tell me how proud you are, Shifu. Tell me. Tell me!
Tai Lung shouts this to Shifu as he's on a path of revenge to take the dragon scroll he thinks he deserves. But when Shifu replies,
I have always been proud of you.
For a brief moment, Tai Lung's expression softens, revealing his inner child. Almost as if he didn't want the scroll anymore and it was the validation he really wanted. Conditional love is when parental affection and approval is dependent on the child accomplishing certain things, like getting an A or training every day. While effective at creating high-performing kids, this parenting style causes children who have yet to form their real identities to instead form a pattern of accomplishing goals for other people. When a child grows, this desire to earn external validation only balloons. Their central motivations become pleasing other people rather than affirming their own beliefs and values. What you want isn't really what you want. You make your way through thousands of math problems even though you like reading more. You go above and beyond in work even though you hate your career. You try to become the Dragon Warrior even though you have no interest in doing good for the world. As long as the end of the day you receive validation from your parents, your friends, or your boss. And while it's fine to have goals that align with what other people want, these should never be the sole reason for why you choose to pursue a goal. Someone should want to become the Dragon Warrior because they want to establish peace in the kingdom. But this wasn't Tai Lung's goal in the slightest. It was purely to make Shifu proud. Gifted kids tend to put the goals and interests of others over what they really want because deep down they don't even know. They weigh external validation over internal validation. But the problem with this is that you ultimately can't control whether people give you external validation, no matter how hard you work, and this leads to burnout. So remember to put yourself first and do the things that'll make you proud. Ask yourself, would I be doing this if no one ever saw the results? Another issue gifted kids face is the mental coupling they have of themselves and natural talent. In the 3rd grade, I thought I was smart because only I knew how to divide. And I actually falsely attributed this to my natural talent, not the fact I had extra tutoring outside of school. Being prideful in your natural talent creates a fragile ego. When you deeply associate a title like talented or Dragon Warrior with your identity, that's dangerous, because at any point this label can be taken away. For a lot of gifted kids, when they try something new and aren't immediately talented at it, they face a mini identity crisis. Since they associate with the title gifted and talented and see they aren't in fact gifted and talented at something, they quit to keep their identity intact. They avoid failure because gifted and talented people aren't supposed to fail. And that is why former gifted kids have hard times sticking with new hobbies. It was instilled in them as a child they were more talented than the average person. And if they perform no better than the average person, this leads to the fundamental shattering of their identity. For Tai Lung, who internally labeled himself as the Dragon Warrior, anger and resentment were created from the dissonance between his internal label and actual reality. For you, if you want to learn something but aren't naturally good at it, the dissonance between your internal label of talented and actual reality may cause you to quit. So instead, embrace a beginner's mindset and a growth mindset. Be proud of the hard work you put in, not the labels assigned to you by yourself or other people. It's fine to fail. Remember, the professional has failed more times than the beginner has tried, just like you've missed less three-pointers than Steph Curry. And the last issue I'll go over with gifted kids is this habit of perfectionism. When you're a child, things are a lot more well-defined. You get the A or you don't. You win the competition or you don't. And as a byproduct, perfect is well-defined. Straight A's, first place. But in real life, things are a lot less cut and dry. Success means different things to different people. So perfect can never be defined like it was when you were a kid. And the problem with the perfectionist mindset is that if you can't be perfect, it's not worth trying being good. You see how quickly Tai Lung turned to evil after he couldn't reach the perfect pinnacle of good. And while perfectionist actually helps the kid because there are set external due dates, like your assignment being due next week or your competition being next month, there are a lot less instances of this when you're an adult. When you grow up, no one's really forcing you to do anything besides make enough money to sustain yourself. But if you want to pursue a side business or hobby, perfection might be stopping you from starting. There's a phrase that good is the enemy of perfect, because you want to do things perfectly, like getting an A when you were a kid. As a former gifted kid, sometimes I have a hard time releasing my videos because I believe they are far from perfect in every sense of the word. I have no idea what makes a grade A YouTube video versus a grade B YouTube video. But something that gifted kids have to acknowledge is that there's no strict rubric for life. And sometimes being good, while not good enough for school, is good enough for life. And unlike for your high expectations in school, being good is all you need. And even if perfect is defined, the reality is we all can't hit perfection day in and day out. What's important to improving is that you show up every day. And if you don't get the perfect result, just know it's part of the process. So whether you're a gifted kid now or have already gone through your Tai Lung era, it's never too late to work on these things, and you'll also never be perfect at them, but that's the whole point. Simply taking a step back and being aware of these habits when they arise is the first big step in curing your gifted kid syndrome. So do things for yourself, be humble, and focus on being good before being perfect. And you might find yourself not locked away in the spirit realm.